Nice hat. This is what it looks like when God's people show up to change the trajectory of a nation. All right, we're like, I've lost track of the time, but I think we're like, 36 hours? Yeah. Yeah, and then we've got the hour time change that we stay the same and everybody else changes time. It's still the same time, but what are we, 36 hours away from having a decision? Right. So I've got some bad news, I got some good news, and I got some great news. I'm going to start off with the bad news. That is that the Democrats are spending us into oblivion, but they're outspending me 15-1. Here's the good news. Message over money. That's what happens. So right now, OH Predictive has us up like 1.5 points. But here's what's become great political sport. Very few people actually answer the polls honestly about how they feel. Of course, when we ask them why, they said, well, with Molly Ball's article in Time magazine, calling out the fact that big government, big tech, big labor, and big business all colluded together to change the laws and to, they said, and then you add to the mix 87,000 new IRS agents? What kind of idiot would answer a poll question truthfully? Because the next thing, they really do believe, and this isn't something that we propagate. I mean, it's not a far leap for people to think this. You have an IRS agent knocking on your door because you answered a poll question with some Democrat poll the wrong way? Is that what we've devolved into? That sounds an awful lot like a democracy, and thank God we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. So, note to the media, when you use the word democracy, you undercut your credibility with the American people. So here's the good news. We are polling ahead. Here's the great news. This whole thing is going to be over tomorrow night. Now, let me give you just a glimpse of what the Mark Fincham Secretary of State administration is going to look like. We will hold people accountable to just follow the law. Hard stop. Now, people have asked me, why are people so afraid of you? Well, why is it that the power cartel, Republicans and Democrats, longtime occupiers of office and kingmakers, why are they so afraid of you? Well, let's see, just follow the law. The logical question or answer to that question would be perhaps they're just not following the law. So, I will tell you that if we were to have somebody who attempted to send out 200,000 ballots illegally to the voters, Adrian Fontes, in 2020, and was rebuked by the courts for doing something outside of the law, even Katie basement dweller Hobbs stepped in to stop him. But here's the travesty. Y'all paid $2.50 per ballot for 200,000 ballots that were illegal from the start and could never be used. Do you really want to reinforce that kind of behavior by giving a guy who failed 2 elections in Maricopa County, Adrian Fontes, who was fired by voters 2 years ago, do you want to give him a promotion to be over all 15 counties? I think not. So you have a choice. You can choose somebody who's dedicated his life to holding people accountable to just follow the law. Many of you know, 18 of my 21 years with the DPS department in Kalamazoo, Michigan, I was a law enforcement officer, police officer. When I worked for a certain software company who would probably cringe at me saying their name because of their wokeness, I spent 7 years developing their customer-facing fraud countermeasures program. holding people accountable to just follow the law. So I have a long history of that, and that's what I aim to do. Unlike, as Lori Roberts put it, September 2020, Adrian Fontes has a habit of making up the law as he goes. This will not end well. I assure you, you do not want a guy, number 2 in line, to the executive leadership of this state who represented cartels in Fast and Furious, represented a woman who was attempting to acquire a Stinger missile, arguably to take down Arizona law enforcement aircraft. You really want that individual sitting in the governor's seat, because in Arizona, in case you don't know, the Secretary of State is the de facto lieutenant governor for the time being. Now, if that doesn't scare you, nothing will. But here's one of the things that I rest assured in. We've put together a great team. And for me to do my job as your next Secretary of State, holding people accountable to just follow the law, you are going to have to elect an Attorney General who will work with me to see to it that that happens. And that's why I have endorsed Abe Hamadeh for our next Attorney General. Thank you very much. Now let's go win this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next Attorney General of the great state of Arizona, Abe Hamadeh.
Arizona, you fired up? We have 24 hours to save our state, don't we? And are we going to save it? I know we are, because we got a great slate of candidates. Honestly, look at all around us. I mean, this is once in a generation opportunity what we're about to pull off. Don't you feel it in your gut? For too long, we've sat back as we watched our country turn into a place we no longer recognize. And in 2 years, we've witnessed what the Democrats have done to us. They opened our secure border, and 250,000 people come across every single month. But it's not just the illegal immigrants coming across, it's also the fentanyl that's pouring in and poisoning our children and our communities. But it's not just the border either. Look what they've done to our streets. They unleashed criminals on our streets instead of putting them behind bars and jail. Every single policy that Democrats have implemented has led to misery and chaos. And you see the media back there, you see all of them. Take a good look at them. They claim they are the guardians of democracy. All the veterans in this room, please stand up. Please stand up. These are the guardians of our republic and our country. Thank you. The media has become the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. And that's why they're so afraid of Arizona, because they know we're not playing by their rules. We're telling it like it is. And if you're seeing what's going on, everywhere across the country, people are waking up. I mean, how quickly has this happened? I never knew that, suddenly gender was a thing that we talked about. What gender pronouns? I mean, how did this come about? They've infiltrated every aspect of our lives. And it's not just we're fighting big government anymore. We have to fight big tech, big business, schools even, with these school boards running. Any school board candidates running right now? Stand up, please. This is one of the most important offices. Because they're teaching a generation to hate their country. And that's why on November 8th, tomorrow, we fight back. And we're going to fight back because we have a great slate of candidates. Who's ready for Governor Kari Lake? Who's ready for Secretary of State Mark Fincham to clean up our elections? And are you ready to send Mark Kelly back to space and get Mike Masters in there? See, the other day, the fake news, the Los Angeles Times, they had a front page story of me, Carrie, Blake, Mark on it. They had our smiling faces, okay? But in the title it said, authoritarianism runs through Arizona. They're calling us tyrants. They are the ones who perpetrated the shutting down of our churches, our schools, and small businesses. They are the ones who suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story. We are not tyrants, we are liberators, and we're taking our country back tomorrow. And it's because if you look at what the Democrats promote, who's heard of my opponent? Anybody's heard of my opponent? Nobody knows who she is. They don't even like talking about her. Her top 3 issues are fighting climate change, abortion, and saving so-called democracy. She wants to fight the weather. I want to fight the criminals. I want to fight the drug cartels. But we can only fight back if we get every single Republican elected. This is an easy decision. We know what they stand for. They stand for forced vaccines. They stand for an open border. They stand for criminals. It's upside down land. And why we pick on the media so much is because they're complicit in all of this. And that's why tomorrow's victory isn't just a victory for me, Mark, Blake, or Carrie. It's a victory for us, we the people. So who's ready to go out and vote tomorrow? You have to grab your friends, stay in line. They're going to try to throw the book at us right now. They know what's coming. Who could tolerate 15% inflation? Look how quickly, there's a war going on in Europe. You know, we're talking about states matter so much more than ever before. I mean, look what Florida is. Who likes Florida right now with Ron DeSantis? We finally recognize that states have power and we're fighting back. And why Arizona? I mean, I'm so excited about this group of nominees. And, you know, we got Tom Horn running for superintendent here. And he's got to make sure critical race theory is out of our schools. Because look how they've divided us by race, by gender. And all of us who've served, we wore that uniform, right? With that American flag on our right shoulder. E pluribus unum, out of many one. You know, we all stand for liberty, truth, and justice. And look at the media. They are propagandists for the Democrats. And they play cover for them. And why I'm so excited is because we got people with a backbone finally. Don't ruin this opportunity right now. This is why it's so critical. Tomorrow, no matter what happens, stay in the polls, grab 5 of your friends, get out the vote, and let's go win really big. Thank you, Arizona. And now I've got a great honor of introducing to you a special guest all the way from Washington, D.C. and Tennessee. He's the former ambassador of Japan. He's a tough negotiator, a strong fighter, and he's fearless. Everyone, give a great Arizona welcome to Senator Bill Hagerty.
Great to be with you here in Arizona. I want to tell you something. I've been traveling across, I've been on the road for 10 days now, and I'm finishing up right here with you. Because this is where the change that has to happen in the Senate is going to happen. It's going to happen right here in Arizona. You're going to elect Blake Masters to join me in the United States Senate. You know, I was in Georgia campaigning for Herschel Walker. He's going to win that race. And you know what's happening down there? You've got a situation where Joe Biden is a persona non grata in Georgia. Stacey Abrams does not want Joe Biden to come down and campaign for her. He tried to, she rejected him. Raphael Warnock, who is Herschel's opponent, is now rejected Stacey Abrams campaigning for him. They're in a tailspin, my friends. And this is happening all over the country. I was in North Carolina campaigning for Ted Budd. Ted is going to win his race. Before heading out west, I was in New Hampshire. You know, the general there has got a real chance to win that race, too. A real chance to win that race. General John Bolduc has a real chance. John Bolduc has a real chance to win that race. Yesterday, I was with Adam Laxalt. Nevada's going to turn. We're going to get that state back, but we're going to bring it home here in Nevada. This is going to make the decision. You all are going to help make that happen. You're going to put a family man, a guy whose values are just obvious from looking at him and his family together. He's a brilliant guy. He brings business experience, just the type of brain power that will not only look after the values that you hold dear, but he will help us win back the America that we know and love. It can happen. It will happen. With all of your help tomorrow, make sure you tell your friends to get out and vote. Make sure you, as Rick Grinnell said, make sure you're there, you're ready, bring your water, wait it out. They're going to make it tough for us tomorrow, but make certain that we win, and we will win big. Bring it home for us tomorrow, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now join me. This is my greatest honor today, and that is to introduce your next senator from the great state of Arizona, Blake Masters.
Thank you. Wave to everybody. Thank you. Who's ready to send Mark Kelly back to space tomorrow? We're going to do it. Could not be more important. You know, I actually think Mark Kelly is the worst United States Senator. That's a big claim, because there's a lot of competition for that title, right? Yes, he does. But we got a lot who vote with Biden. I mean, Elizabeth Warren. Usually when I say, who's the worst U.S. Senator, some people suggest Elizabeth Warren. And I say, yeah, she's pretty bad. Chuck Schumer. Ooh. I mean, this guy looks like a villain from an Ayn Rand novel, right? He looks the part. Bernie Sanders is another one people suggest, and he's real bad, right? Here's the thing, though. Mark Kelly votes just like Bernie Sanders in the United States Senate. Here's the difference between Bernie and Mark. Bernie Sanders will at least look you in the eye and tell you what he is, right? There's a shred of honesty there. He should be ashamed to admit that he's a far-left socialist, but he's not. He'll just tell you. Well, Mark Kelly votes the exact same way as Bernie Sanders, but he won't admit it, does he? No, he lies through his teeth. He's on your living room TV screens for the past 6 months pretending to be a center-right Republican, right? He says, I stand up to Joe Biden. I'm like, really? Really, Mark? When? That would be nice. I wish he had. Of course, he hasn't. He is just a rubber stamp vote for Joe Biden's failed agenda. You look at what Biden and Mark Kelly are doing, and it's like, man, are they that incompetent? Or are they trying to destroy the country? I think it's both. I really think it's both, which is the worst spot. It's the worst possible combination. They opened up our border. They destroyed our border security. 2 years ago, you had a secure border. Fast forward 2 years, it is a mess. What happened? Joe Biden happened. Mark Kelly happened, right? They canceled the border wall. That was the first thing that Biden signed. Halting construction of our border wall. Why would you do that? They've partnered with the cartel to traffic more than 4.5 million human beings into our country in the last 20 months. And I think, okay, they're incompetent, right? But I think they're clever enough. Maybe this is giving them too much credit, but I think they're clever enough to know you're going to cause a crisis if you throw the border wide open in this, the greatest country in the history of the world, and you invite the whole world to come here. People are going to, especially if you tell illegal aliens, hey, not only will we not deport you, but here's an incentive. We're going to encourage you to break the law. Here's cash, cell phones, bus tickets to Phoenix Sky Harbor, where they've been running midnight flights, ferrying illegal aliens all throughout the country, wherever they want to go, except Martha's Vineyard. No.
No, don't go to Martha's Vineyard. The media, they called Governor DeSantis a human trafficker for sending 50 people to Martha's Vineyard one time. Biden and Mark Kelly have trafficked more than 4.5 million human beings into this country. And Yuma doesn't get 50 one time, they get 50 every hour. 50 every hour. 1,000 illegal immigrants cross the border in the Yuma sector every single day. 300,000 illegals come in every month, 4.5 million so far. And it's not just the people, it's the fentanyl. It's the fentanyl. Mark Kelly's been radio silent on fentanyl while we've lost 2,000 young people in Arizona in the last 12 months. Terrorists are coming in, and those are the ones dumb enough to get caught, right? What about the ones that didn't get caught? I mean, this is a disaster. I wish it were the only disaster that the Democrats have delivered, of course. They've also destroyed the economy. And here again, I don't want to be, I don't think that Biden or Mark Kelly could ever competently steward a healthy economy. No, I don't think they have it in them. But what you're seeing from this White House policy that Mark Kelly is just rubber stamping, to me, it looks intentional. It's like, what's the second thing that Biden canceled right after the border wall? The pipeline. Why would you do that? What do these geniuses think was going to happen to the price of energy when you declare war on American energy? You declare war on oil and gas in a country that's still mostly powered by oil and gas. You think you might make the price of gas go up? Yes. Again, either they're so incompetent and they didn't expect that to happen, which yikes, we got to get these people out of office. Or no, I think they're a little bit more clever than that. They knew they were going to take your gasoline from $2 to $6. They just didn't care. You give Mark Kelly any more time in office to rubber stamp Joe Biden's agenda, soon gas will be $8, $10, $12 a gallon. And Pete Buttigieg, is he back from paternity leave yet? Not sure if he's back in the office yet. But if he is, as soon as he gets back, he'll say $12 a gallon, good, because you should be driving an electric car. That's what they think of us. But here's the problem. When they made energy artificially expensive, they made absolutely everything expensive, right? They caused massive inflation because everything you need to live takes energy to make and to move. That's fully half the inflation right there. That's the left hook. Well, then boom, what was the right hook? The supply chain's a disaster, but I have in mind the money printing. Again, these geniuses, they printed and spent $6 trillion in the last 20 months. Mark Kelly doesn't understand how that causes inflation, by the way. Mark Kelly's official explanation for inflation is we see all the greedy businessmen, they get together. The smoke-filled room, all the corporations, they decide to raise prices at the same time. It's capitalism's fault. And again, either Mark Kelly is so dull that he actually thinks that's what's happening, or give him some credit, I think he's more clever than that. He knows he's pushing a lie. Mark Kelly pretends not to understand. I'll tell you, these boys understand it perfectly well. Normal people understand when the government prints $1 trillion, it's going to devalue every dollar in your wallet. It's going to make prices at the pump, at the grocery store, rent prices just go to the moon. But don't worry, the Dems have a plan for this. It's called the Inflation Reduction Act. It's all good. They called it that, so of course it's going to bring inflation down. It's always the opposite. Did Obama's Affordable Health Care Act make your health care affordable? Be wary if the Democrats introduce a bill called the Puppies and Rainbows and Unicorns Act, because there's something evil in that bill. It's always the opposite. But it seems like they're just trying to destroy everything that we hold dear. Look at our fundamental freedoms. Look at what Fauci did to us. We're never going to forget that. I think that Fauci deserves to see the inside of a prison cell. We're going to investigate and get to the bottom of that. I think you look at Joe Biden, you look at General Milley, you look at Secretary Austin, seems like they're trying to do everything they can to hurt our military as well. Shame on Joe Biden and Mark Kelly for not standing up. They weeded out so many amazing warfighters from our armed forces, young, healthy people who the science never suggested should get this COVID vaccine, should be forced on them. And so I think that all of our brave men and women who are willing to stick their necks out for our country, who put on the cloth of the nation, but were shamefully forced out by this vaccine mandate, I think they should be offered their jobs back with back pay. It's kind of the least we could do. Thank you. Yeah, let's see if all you journalists in the back, go ask Mark Kelly. Go ask Mark Kelly if he has their back. He never does. He never does. And look, I'm sorry, I feel myself being depressing up here. But I'm just being honest, right? We know in our bones this is a save the country election. We're in a tough spot. I knew Biden-Harris was going to be bad. You knew it was going to be bad. I got to say, they've exceeded expectations, haven't they? So here's the depressing thing. If we don't play our cards right, if we don't get the right Republicans in office literally tomorrow, I think we will. I think we will. We're possibly one day away from losing this country, but let me agree with you. I think we're one day away from taking this country back. What do you think? Thank you. And we have you to thank for it. The media has been pushing this narrative. Oh, the red wave is dead. The red wave has got no. The red wave looks very healthy and alive to me. Okay, and it's not an abstraction, it's you. You are the tip of the spear here, our grassroots army in Arizona. We are not going to let the left destroy this country, not on our watch. So you got to show up to the, who's already voted? Pretty healthy. Who's excited to go vote in person tomorrow? We got to stay in line, bring food, bring water. It should be festive, it should be celebratory. Tomorrow's the day we take our country back. We are going to send Mark Finchem in to be your next Secretary of State. He's going to be awesome. We're going to send Abe Hamadeh. How excited are you for Abe Hamadeh as AG? I see some Kari Lake t-shirts. Kari Lake, your next governor? She's incredible. I'm always going to fight for you and for Arizona families. Here in Arizona, we do, have you heard the left say lately that democracy is on the ballot? Democracy, you got to remind these people, we actually live in a constitutional republic, don't we? Now, it's true we have a big election coming up tomorrow, and choice is important. We have a choice to make. I tell people, if you like the wide open southern border, if you love the illegal immigration, you like having to check your kids' Halloween candy for fentanyl, if you like paying too much for gas and groceries, if you like the fact that homicide in Maricopa County is up 50% since Joe Biden took over, if you like left-wing bureaucrats and teachers union creatures teaching our kids to be confused about whether they're boys or girls, I don't know what's wrong with you, yikes. But there's a U.S. Senate candidate with an agenda you'll love. His name's Mark Kelly. Or, if you think you and your family deserve better, and Lord knows I do, let's retire Mark Kelly, get me into the U.S. Senate. I will go give Senator Hagerty some backup. I will always fight for you and for Arizona families. We do it for these guys and for your kids and grandkids too. And you know, now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you someone else who will always fight for our kids, who will always put Arizona and America first, who's always going to look out for you and your family. She's become a good friend. She's taking Arizona by storm. She's taking this whole country by storm. She's going to be the best governor in all of these great 50 states. Your next governor, Kari Lake.
Can you feel it? Something is going on in Arizona. This is so incredible. Here we are in, it's Monday, not just any Monday, it's election eve. And we've all stepped away from whatever we were doing to have fun in this gorgeous weather, and we're sitting here listening to politicians. That's how much we care about this state, right? I never thought I would be standing here. You know, I walked away from my job. Many of you remember me from my days on TV, right? And I stepped away from that when I realized that it was all propaganda, and I wasn't willing to push that. And the ratings have been going down the tubes ever since. But I'll tell you what, I would have never envisioned myself 524 days ago, I swear I'm not counting, when we threw our hat into the ring of politics, that we would be standing here on the verge of doing something historic in Arizona. We have a movement, guys. This is a movement. It's not a campaign. It's a movement of patriotic Arizonans who are sick of the crap, right? Can I say that in a church? I'm sorry, God. Sorry. Get the curse jar. I'm going to put $1 in it right now. But what we have upon us is moms and dads who finally said, look, we're busy. Like, look at Blake. He's busy raising 3 beautiful boys, he and his wife. And they look up from that, and the world's going to, you know what, in a handbasket. And they go, I guess we got to get involved and save the world on top of it. And so that's what's happening. Moms and dads are getting involved. I call them mama bears. Do we have any mama bears in this crowd? Any papa bears? Any just single people who are fed up as well? All right. This is what's happening. When we, the people, finally raise our heads up and say, wait a minute, we're not letting this country go. And we're going to start by saving Arizona first, right? So I have a question. How many of you, say 3 or 4 years ago, would you found yourself on a Monday at, middle of the afternoon doing politics? Raise your hand. All right, Rob would have. That's why he's running. One person said they would have, maybe 2. That tells you what kind of a movement we have. People who've never been involved in politics are now involved. They are off the sideline. They are in the game, as my football coach dad would have said. We are in the game, and we are with seconds left on the clock. 24/7. We've got 24 seconds left on the clock? Okay, maybe. We've done all the work. We've done all the work. Wendy's been out there working, Roxana, Rob's been out there working, everybody running has been working their tail off, if they're Republicans. My opponent, I saw yesterday, was zip-lining. I'm like, I can't even find time to eat or use the restroom, and here she is zip-lining and eating ice cream yesterday, and I'm like, she's not serious about running the state. And she wants us to give her this job. Frankly, she doesn't deserve this job. Katie Hobbs is a twice convicted racist, and the fake news won't tell you that. Did you know that? Twice convicted racist, costing the taxpayers of this great state nearly $3 million because she paid women of color $30,000 less than she paid men for doing the same job. And they accuse us of being racist. I'll tell you what, we don't want that. We cannot go backwards and put someone like her in the governor's office. It would be an absolute disaster. If she's not willing to work hard, then she can't have this job. And that's what I think. I grew up in the Midwest, and we had to work hard for everything we want. I'm the youngest of 9. If we wanted something, we had to work for it. If we wanted shampoo, we had to work for it. If we wanted toothpaste, we had to work for it. This is what we need right now, workers, people ready to get in there, get the job done with some common sense. And you know what I'm going to do. You've been watching, you've been following this campaign, right? Day 1, we're going to call it what it is, issue an invasion on our border. That's right. And we're going to take the materials that are sitting there in the desert that we, the people, paid for, and we're going to take them back and finish President Trump's wall. We have no choice, guys. We've got a fentanyl crisis going on. We're not even known as the Grand Canyon state. Right now, they're thinking that we're the fentanyl state. I don't want to be known as the fentanyl pipeline state. And so we've got to challenge and take on these cartels. Joe Biden, on day 1, in the first 10 minutes, pulled back a policy at the border that was keeping us safe. And ever since then, it's been complete havoc on our border. We need a strong governor to take back our border, and you're going to get that with me, I guarantee it. That's right. And, they want us to forget what happened in 2020 when our streets were being torn up, our businesses were on fire, and they said, oh, that's peaceful protesting, as they were destroying our cities. At the same time, they were not allowing us to stand closer than 6 feet together. They were masking our beautiful children. This is outrageous. We're not going to forget what they did to us during COVID. When they just destroyed our cities, when they destroyed our businesses, when they shut our churches down. We will not forget that. And Governor Carrie Lake, I will never shut your business down. I won't shut your churches down, and I will not ever mask you up again. Because you know what? I'd never do that, but I think we've all grown and learned, and we will never do that anyway, right? Heck no, we're not going back. We're not going to have them. We will not comply with that kind of tyranny, never again. And so, as I talk about it, and I brought up, our children, and this is really why I'm in it. I have 2 children of my own. They're not little kids anymore. They're 18 and 19, but I want them to have the opportunities that we had. Arizona has been such a great place. So many of us came here from other states for an opportunity, such as myself. Some of us grew up here. And it's an amazing state. We want to have those same opportunities for our kids. And at the rate things are going, if Katie Hobbs gets anywhere near the governor's office, we're going to look a lot like California, and it's not going to be pretty. This is why I have a homeless policy, that we're going to tackle the chronic street homelessness on our streets. God did not envision any one of us living on the street with a needle in our arm. We're going to lift these people up. We're going to get them help. We're going to use something called tough love, because sometimes you need to give a little tough love and encouragement to get that help. But we're no longer going to allow people to live on the streets, use drugs, and cause problems, right? We want to have safe and secure streets. What we've been doing is enabling the problem, and it's hurting our quality of life. And I'll tell you what, the good people of Arizona who pay their taxes want their streets and parks back, and we're gonna deliver that for them. And then, being a mama bear, I am also dating myself a bit here. And some of you who are older, such as myself and even older than me, will remember when we used to do this in high school. We're going to go back to dual track education. That means after 10th grade, yep, someone's like, yes, I am old, just like you. After 10th grade, we're going to let kids decide if they want to go to that college track, that's great, go for it, or if they want to get trade skill training, vocational training, and career certification in high school to take on those high-paying jobs that are out there. Now, here's what my opponent wants to do. Here's her education plan. She actually put her name on this. The same time she was voting against a border wall, against a virtual border wall, and against funding our border task force to save us and help us at the border, she was sponsoring legislation to begin sex education in kindergarten. It's terrible. And this is what it's about, guys. They're really going after our kids. We all care about the economy, and we're going to help with the economy. We're going to bring down and get rid of the taxes that you're paying for rent and taxes you're paying for groceries. But when it comes down to it, we care most about our kids. We have got to get these groomers out of the school. What they're teaching our kids is wrong. It's terrible. We're going to do things to make our streets safer, but we're also going to protect our kids in school. No more indoctrination. We want a real education for our kids. I know we do. We think of these precious little innocent babies, we send them off to school, and then we find out that they're taking their impressionable minds and filling it with complete nonsense, telling our boys that they can be girls and girls they can be boys. And it is demonic, and they're trying to tell them, these impressionable little ones, that they can change their gender. Then they're the ones who say that we're the science deniers? Really? Let's talk about some basic science here. There are 2 genders, guys, 2. I don't mean to startle you, but there are 2 genders. And listen, I have a compassionate heart. I feel for people who are dealing with that, but do not push that on our children. And we need to stand up at this moment in history and stop it. We truly do. If we won't, who will? If we won't stand up at this moment and protect our children, who the heck will, guys? So are you willing to stand up and help protect our children? I am. I'm ready. That means we got to vote. We got to vote. We got to get this entire Republican slate in there. Vote Republican up and down that ballot. Get Tom Horn in there to help turn our education around. We got to get Abe Hamadeh in there so that we can secure our border. We've got to have Blake Masters in the U.S. Senate. Let's send Mark Kelly back into outer space. And we got to have people like Rob Scantlebury, a former cop, and Roxana Hosefo, a former cop, elected into the legislature so that we can get some common sense stuff passed. Right? So, while you're all standing, this is what I need you to do. We need to tell the fake news that we're not watching them anymore. Are you guys watching the fake news anymore? Turn around and tell them, we're not watching you guys anymore. We don't care what you say. And this is how we've been able to have this movement. Because we found out last week that we had 100% negative coverage by the fake news. This candidate had 100% negative coverage by the fake news. And congratulations, he said. And we still have a movement. That tells me that they've completely lost control of the narrative and they've lost all power. Is that a beautiful thing? Is that a beautiful thing? We need to get out and vote, guys. Tomorrow, the final piece of the puzzle. We've been working so hard. I've seen so many of these wonderful faces on the campaign trail, but I can't go out and vote for you. I guess the Democrats do that. Maybe the Democrats do. I can't go out and vote for you. You guys have to go out and vote. And tomorrow you have to vote like your life depends on it. You have to vote like your state depends on it. You have to vote like your children's lives depend on it. It does, and your grandchildren's. And our future as a republic. Tomorrow is D-Day. We got to make it happen. Go out there and vote, guys. I love you, Arizona. We're going to do it. Woo!